Hey Eurovision fans, it's time for a deep dive analysis of the grand final of Eurovision 2024. With the 2025 season coming up, now is a perfect time to look back at the 2024 contest and analyze what happened with the jury and the jurors that helped decide the result in Malmo, and could that affect this year's contest in Bal. So let's kiki. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tom. I'm an Irish Eurovision analyst, and you can find all of this stuff on my Eurovision channel. So apologies that this video is later than normal. As you may know, I was involved in the Olympics before Eurovision, during Eurovision, and after Eurovision this year, which was very, very stressful. And by the time that finished, it was a little bit too late in the season. My algorithm dies during the summer, so I thought it'd be better to leave this video until a bit later. I think now is a good time to look back at what happened in 2024 and analyze the trends that are happening in Eurovision and see how do they apply to the 2025 season. So obviously the winner of Eurovision 2024 was Nemo from Switzerland. For us to understand what happened with Nemo, a good place to start is by looking back at the jury trends since 2009, which is when the 50% jury, 50% televote system started. So here are all of those results. Now you may notice I've left out 2013 because we don't have the split results for that. So in these first two columns, you can see the year and the winner of the contest that year. This next column has where the winner ranked in the jury. So you can see there's a lot of first places there, but not always. Azerbaijan coming second, Ukraine coming second, Israel, Netherlands coming third, and Italy, Ukraine coming fourth. Overall, the average rank of the Eurovision winner in the jury is 1.9. So 8 out of 14 times the Eurovision winner was also the jury winner. Now in this second column, we can see the amount of jury points that the winner got. And we see that Nemo had the second highest jury score with 365 points, behind Salvador Sobral of Portugal getting 382 in 2017. But it's really important to note that there are obviously a different amount of countries competing in each year. For example, in 2018, we had 43 countries, whereas the last 2 years, we've only had 37. So obviously, if there's more countries, there's more jury points to be given away. So if we divide the winner's points by the amount of juries, that lets us compare in a much more fair way the jury scores between different years. And we see that when we do that, we get this next column where Nemo is now leading, getting 10.1 points on average per jury. That's almost the equivalent of getting 10s across the board from every single country on average, actually a little bit above that. And that pushes Salvador Sobral into second with an average jury score of 9.6. And in third place, Loreen from Sweden with an average of 9.4. So if we look at these average jury scores over these 14 contests, we see 2 of the top 3 have been in the last 2 years. Now, before we do a deep dive into that, I want to just quickly point out that Ukraine and Italy, both coming fourth with the jury, don't actually have the lowest jury scores. Italy getting an average of 5.4 jury points per country, and Ukraine getting 4.9. They're actually above Azerbaijan in 2011, who got 4.3, and Germany in 2010, who got 4.9. So kind of interesting that people think that Ukraine did so badly with the jury in 2022, but actually they got a higher average jury point score than Lena did. It just kind of shows you that rank alone is not enough. You need a little bit more in-depth information. And then Italy there with an average of 5.4 are actually ranked 9th out of 14, higher than both of those Ukrainian entries, Azerbaijan, Germany, and also Israel as well. So Italy actually doing pretty decently with the jury when you look at the big picture compared to everyone else. And in this next column, we're going to look the winner of Eurovision. Did they get more points from the jury or from the televote? Anyone with a red bar got more points in the televote, and the amount of points is the number. So Norway got 66 more points in the televote than they did in their jury score, whereas anyone with a blue bar got more points in the jury. And we can see with Måns Zelmerlöw in 2015, he got 84 more points with the jury than he would have gotten with the televote. And we can see overall there's a trend that up until 2022, pretty much everybody used to get more points from the televote, the only exceptions being Måns, and then in 2017, Salvador Sobral basically getting the same between the jury and the televote. But in the last 2 years, we see that that trend has changed. Loreen getting 97 more points with the jury, and Nemo getting 139. And you can see the percentages there as well. that in most years, most Eurovision winners got less than 50% of their points from the jury. And in the last 2 years, it's been 58.3% and 61.8%. But let's go back to this Sweden and Switzerland, who've gotten the first and third highest average jury scores per country in the last 3 years. Now, is it a coincidence that 2 of the last 3 big jury winners have come in recent years? Or is this a new trend that is emerging in Eurovision? Let's focus on that now. Honestly, I think it's a bit of both. These high jury scores were definitely deserved. Sweden and Switzerland both really upped the game in terms of the staging standards. Really strong performers, mind-blowing staging, excellent performance, and a very evocative and emotional show on stage. So these are both really strong jury songs. Now, I'm not saying that they're jury bait. For me, jury bait is when a country only tries to target the jury and doesn't really care about the televote at all. Whereas you can see both of these songs did very well with the televote. So I don't consider them jury bait, but they're definitely very strong jury songs, ticking off all of those boxes that the jury are looking out for. So that's an argument for the coincidence. It could just be that we've had 2 extremely strong jury songs in a row, and because of that they've done extremely well with the jury and gotten that high average vote. So normally I would say it's too early to say that there's a pattern. It's only been 2 years in a row. Maybe we need a little bit more time. However, the other side of that argument is that both of these big jury wins happened during the first 2 years of us having televote only semi-finals. So that's where things get a little bit more interesting. So in case you don't know, in the last 2 contests we've had televote only in the semi-finals, and that affects what songs are making it into the final and what is the competition in the final. So I'm going to give you my theories why. So think of it this way. The 20 songs that qualified for the final were the top 20 televote songs from the semi-finals, because the juries do not give points in the semi-finals. But that does not mean that they're the top 20 jury songs. So we may have lost 1, 2, 3, even 4 songs from the semi-finals that the juries may have loved in the final. So whereas the top 20 televote songs all go into the final, we might only be getting 14, 15, 16 of the top jury songs making it into the final. Now, that doesn't sound like a huge difference, but at the end of the day, having less of the big jury songs does mean that there's less competition in the jury element of the scoring in the final. To put it simply, some of the jury winners' rivals might be getting eliminated in the semi-finals. I'm going to give you an example from 2023. Alika, representing Estonia, came 10th in her semi-final, very close to being eliminated. Let's put it this way. If Finland had been drawn into her semi-final instead of Denmark, keep in mind Denmark and Finland are in the same draw pot, Alika would have come 11th in the televote and not qualified for the final. So she was very close to being eliminated in the televote only semi-final. Fast forward to the actual grand final and she comes 5th in the jury with 146 points. So this is a song that did significantly better with the jury. Very strong vocals, beautiful instrumental element. Definitely something that the jury's going to appreciate quicker than the televote does. But she was this close to being eliminated. A little bit of luck in the draw, getting Denmark instead of Finland. So my point is that a single ball being pulled out was probably the only thing stopping her from being eliminated and getting that huge jury result in the final. That was one of Lorraine's big jury rivals. So that's an example of a big jury hitter almost getting eliminated from the semi-finals. Obviously, the songs that do get eliminated, we don't know how they would have done with the jury because those points aren't released. But the point is that the big televote contenders can't be lost, whereas the big jury contenders can be with this new system in the last 2 years. Now, if you saw my semi-final 2 analysis video, please go watch that now if you haven't seen it already. You'll remember what I said about San Marino, which was the only jury results that we saw in the semi-finals. Now, in case you don't know, San Marino can't have a televote because they use the same televote network as Italy. So you can't tell where the call is coming from. Is it coming from Italy? Is it coming from San Marino? Because of that, they have to use a backup jury. And then in the final for the televote, they use a demoscopic jury for their televote. So what this means is that we get to see the jury results for San Marino in the semi-finals because they don't have an alternative. And in that video, you may remember that I showed that the San Marino jury result was the most different vote from all of the other 18 countries voting in that semi-final. San Marino's jury gave 19 points to the non-qualifying countries. That's an average of 3.8 points per country, whereas the other 18 countries who were voting by televote gave an average of 1 point to the non-qualifiers. So the only jury results that we did get to see gave 4 times more points on average to the non-qualifiers than the televoting countries did. So who knows, maybe Czechia or Denmark or Albania, who had very strong vocalists, maybe they would have done much better in the final with the jury if they had made it. And we also had the same last year, where if you remove kind of neighborly voting, San Marino's jury once again gave the most points to the non-qualifying countries, although admittedly it was by a slightly smaller margin. Iru from Georgia would have done really well with the jury with their incredible vocals. Aya from Latvia definitely would have done well with the jury. They would have absolutely loved that. I think that could have been top 5 in the jury in the same way that Alika was. Diljau from Iceland, incredible performance, very athletic, beautiful vocals, also would have done well with the jury. As I said, we'll never know, because although the jury does vote in the semi-finals secretly as a backup, those results are never released. That is another Eurovision holy grail. If you can get your hands on the secret jury semi-final results, that would be so juicy. I think they don't want to release them because they are so different from the televote, and it really would potentially back up what I'm saying in that some competitive jury songs get killed in the semi-finals. Now, just because San Marino's jury was different, it doesn't mean that every jury would be that way, but we do know that the jury and the televote can differ quite a bit. So I looked at the semi-final results from 2017 until 2022, and the jury and the televote only agreed on 74% of their top 10, which basically means that on average, 7.4 countries were the same in the televote and the jury. So what has this got to do with Poor Nemo and Innocent Loreen? Well, if the televote favourite is up against the 20 best televote songs from the semi-finals, and the jury favourite is up against the best 14 or 15 jury songs from the semi-finals, obviously that means that the jury favourite has an advantage in that they have less competition for their specialty. So what do the jury results from this year mean for the future of the contest? Well, obviously it's a little bit too early. We only have 2 years of results, but one trend that we could see is that if we continue to have televote only semi-finals, which we are having this year again, we know for a fact that the top 20 televote songs are going to qualify to the final, and we can assume that approximately 26% of the jury favorite songs aren't going to qualify, and we've got to look out to see, does this pattern that means the jury winner can have a bigger margin of victory in the jury score, is that going to continue, or was it just a coincidence? Personally, I'm expecting there to be a trend. I don't know if it's always going to be this big, but at the end of the day, the jury songs have less competition in the final. I think we're going to see that this trend in the past, where the Eurovision winners got more points from the televotes, is going to either reverse so that the winner has more points than the jury, or even out so it's sometimes one, sometimes the other. So how could this affect the contest? Well, one thing is people might be more likely to start betting on songs that they think could do very well with the jury. If there's less competition to get those delicious jury points, maybe people will be thinking that the jury has more power. If you can stack up a huge amount of points with the jury, then it's harder for your competitors to overcome your lead in the televote. So whereas in the past, Eurovision winners used to source 44% of their total points from the jury, in the last 2 years, this has gone up to 60%. I gotta stress, this could just be an anomaly in the last 2 years. That's up to you to decide with all this evidence I've given you and see what happens in the coming years, but this could be the start of a trend. Now, how is this going to affect the actual show? Now, obviously, casual Eurovision fans are not crunching the numbers in the same way that weird Eurovision people like me are, but I do think that casual viewers do still make general observations about Eurovision, particularly if commentators are talking in their ear. So whereas I don't think they notice the small detail things like we do, I do think that they see big picture trends in who's winning. So for example, I do think a lot of casual fans know about this relationship between Greece and Cyprus and the exchange of points. Even though it only happens twice a year, this repetition of it happening all the time, I think even casual fans pick up on that, further emphasized by some of the commentators mentioning it. So whereas I don't think casual fans remember statistics, I do think that they remember emotions and feelings that they're feeling while watching the show. For example, if someone's really in the lead thinking, this is over, I think that's something that they'll mentally log in their head. And if it happens again next year and the year after, they're going to start thinking, the winner is always decided by the end of the jury points. So let's look at this graph here, which shows at the end of the jury voting, how big a lead did the jury winner have over second place. So I've drawn a little line here between 2015 and 2016 because 2016 was the first time that we got the jury and televotes delivered separately. One of my favorite ever changes in Eurovision. Prior to that, the points were mixed together, which really damaged some countries. The one that jumps to mind is Poland in 2014, getting absolutely mangled. They would have gotten a really good televote result, but their jury score was so low that all their points just kind of got wiped out. So prior to 2016, casual viewers would not have been aware of the differences between the jury and televote scores. So first of all, we need to give a shout out to Austria and Switzerland for managing to tie with Sweden for the most jury wins since 2009. All three of those countries getting 2 jury wins. And in 2016, we had a big jury winner, Australia leading the eventual winner, Ukraine, by 109 points. That's 22% of the total jury points available. And then in 2017, we had Portugal with a 104 point lead over Bulgaria. And generally, we can see these results are pretty spread out, ranging from 0.44, Lena having a very small jury lead in 2010 to a maximum of 25% in 2012 when Lorraine won the jury with Euphoria. But now let's look at the results from 2023 and 2024. And in 23, Lorraine having a 163 point lead. That's 38% of the total jury points available. Keep in mind that 23 and 24 are the smallest years, only 37 countries competing. And despite that, Lorraine having this huge lead, bigger than all of the previous years. And then this year, Nemo having a 147 point lead over Slimane from France. That is 34% of the maximum jury points possible. So casual viewers are watching, we get to the end of the jury sequence, and in the last 2 years, and flashed up on screen, we have a leader with a gigantic lead over second place. Again, I don't think casual viewers remember numbers or statistics, but you don't need a maths degree to see that someone has a huge 163 or 147 point lead. That is pretty difficult to overcome. I think that casual viewers are going to say to each other on the couch, hey, that person's got a really, really huge lead. They probably aren't going to be caught. And then the next year, the same thing happens. The jury winner has a huge lead. They probably aren't going to get caught again. So I think that this trend is so big and obvious that even someone who's not super invested in the contest is still going to be able to pick up on it. And again, if the commentators are also saying this in their ear, that's going to reinforce it even more. So if this pattern does continue into 2025 and 2026, I think the contest will start to get a reputation with casual fans more and more, that if we keep having these jury winners with very big leads, that the contest is kind of over at that point. It's very difficult for the televote favorite to catch up. So let's say that the public does start to notice this. It could affect voting. If they think, well, the winner of Eurovision is decided by the jury, I'm not going to bother voting because my vote has no power. So we may see that the amount of people voting may start to decrease. Now, obviously, the EBU is not going to be happy about that because you're not going to bother voting in the televote if you think the entire show is going to be decided by the jury. Now, I think the reaction could vary by country, depending on how intensely the public of that country watches the contest. For example, countries like Iceland and Sweden, who watch the contest quite intensely, I think that they'll probably notice it more than some countries who are a little bit less arsed about the contest. And like I said before, it's also going to depend on the commentators. How knowledgeable are they? Are they picking out these patterns as well? But for example, in the last years, I think definitely Finnish people will have noticed it in 2023 because it really affected them. And Croatian people really felt it in 2024 because it affected them. So I do think that certain countries, because of what happened to their Eurovision story, are going to notice this more. And as we have more people potentially doing very well with the televote, but then not winning because of the jury, the quantity of countries increases. It could become more noticeable. Maybe a couple of delegations will start complaining. Maybe televotes will start to decrease a little bit. And who knows, they may eventually revert to having the juries back in the semi-finals. Now, I do not blame the EBU for getting rid of the juries in the semi-final. You may have seen my video I did in 2022 where we had a jury voting scandal in the semi-finals. 6 of the juries were cheating and trading points. So I can definitely see why the EBU got fed up with such petty corruption and don't want to have to deal with people who can't be honest in a not very important singing competition. I also think that the televote system works well for them in terms of having the most entertaining final possible. If you put the 20 televote winning songs into the final, you're going to have a song that people generally feel more excited and impassioned about. Okay, now let's move away from the winners and focus a bit more on the juries in general in the grand final. We're now going to look at how powerful is a single juror who's got the healthiest and least healthy jury, who got the most last places, and we'll also look at the jury medal table. One thing to note here is that I am including Netherlands in these statistics. When the jury voted on the Friday night, Netherlands weren't disqualified yet, so I'm going to include them. Also, now is a good time to remind you to boop the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to support the channel, check out my Buy Me a Coffee. So in the final, there are 37 juries, each with 5 members. So that's 185 jurors in total. What I've done here is that I've imagined that each juror has a gold, silver, and bronze medal that they can give to their first, second, and third favorite. What I'm looking at is what is the power of them giving their medals to their favorite countries? How much power does a single juror have in that jury of 5? If I rank a song first place and everyone else in my jury hates it and ranks it last, will that person still get a jury point or two? So here are where all 185 first places from the jurors ranked within their jury. Don't panic with all these numbers. I'm going to give you an example to explain what it is. Let's take Ireland's jury as an example. Here you can see how their 5 jurors voted. So juror A, B, and E all gave their first place to Switzerland, and Switzerland ended up coming first. Juror C put Croatia first, and they ended up 4th in the Irish jury rankings. And juror D put Germany first, and they ended up 5th in the jury rankings. So the first place favorites of the 5 jurors on the Irish jury came first, 4th, 5th, and 1st in the final Irish jury rankings. So we're basically looking at how often does a single juror's preferences actually affect the final score from that jury of 5. Let's go back and look at all those 185 again, and we can see only 4 times out of the 185 first place was a country the favorite of a jury but didn't get any points from that country's jury. So Australian juror C put Joost first, but then Joost ended up ranking 11th because all other 4 jurors put him in the 20s. Austrian juror E ranked Goethe from Norway first, but they ended up 11th with that jury. Germany juror B ranked Ireland first, yay! But Bambi Thug ended up 12th overall. And finally, juror B from Switzerland gave their 12 points to Spain. Spain finished 11th, but then with Joost's disqualification, they moved up to 10th. The other 181 times, being a juror's favorite got you points. So being the favorite of any juror gives you a 97.8% chance of getting some points from that jury. So if you want jury points, be somebody's favorite. That's it. Simple recipe. Find your niche, really play to that. Hope that there are people in the jury who really love that niche or style of music. I did the same thing last year, you may remember. And for last year, it was 100% of the first places. So this year, 97.8. Okay, now hopefully you understood that. We're now going to look at who all 185 jurors gave their silver medal to. Where did they end up ranking in that country's jury? And we can see that there are 7 times when a juror put a song as their number 2, but that song didn't get points from that jury. So a little bit more often than the gold one. Still 96.2% of the time, if a juror put you second, you got some points from that jury. And finally, let's look at the bronze medalists. So these are the 3rd favorites of all 185 jurors. And we can see 9 times it happened that a juror put a country 3rd and they did not get points from that jury. And that represents 95.1%. Overall, the average was 96.4% chance. So that is, if you're in the top 3 of any juror, 96.4% chance that you will get at least a single point from that juror's country. So really just showing that you have to have a point of view when you get on the Eurovision stage. Be somebody's favorite. Even if you want to go super niche, if you've got someone who loves that niche, they're just going to mop that up. So this is where a little bit of strategy comes in. You can go for a broad appeal, or you can go a little bit more specific to monopolize one category. Okay, moving on. Now let's have a look at who had the healthiest jury and the least healthy jury. And then we'll also talk a little bit just in general about how juries are run. Now, full disclaimer, this section is a mix of objective data, but also my subjective opinion. I've basically designed a quick formula to calculate how much variety in tastes and opinions there are within a jury. If you've got a better system, of course, leave it for me down in the comments section. But this is something kind of quick and simple that I made up to get a feeling for how much variety exists within a jury. So to calculate this, I basically added up the entire column. The bigger the number, the more variety there was between the jurors of that country's jury. The smaller the number, the more agreement that happened, and basically the less diversity of tastes. So I actually did the same thing in my grand final jury analysis video of Eurovision 2023. So let's use the winner of the Healthiest Jury Award from that video as an example. That was Austria, who had a score of 83 points. Very quick shout out to Wikipedia Euro fans who update all of these Wikipedia pages. I would be absolutely dead without you. So you can see that everyone here has a different number one, a different number two. These are 5 very individual people with different backgrounds, music tastes. Their favorites are spread all around. There's no bullying. There's no person trying to influence other people. They're just ranking based off of what they like, and they all have different opinions. Very uncorrupt, very mindful. This is a great jury in my opinion. Now let's contrast that with the Eurovision 2023 least healthy jury from my video last year, and that was Australia. And you can see there's almost no variation here whatsoever. Everyone's top 3 came from the same 5 songs. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a visual explanation about what I mean by a healthy jury, having different favorites. Okay, so let's look at the 2024 results. First of all, let's go to the top 3 healthiest. In 3rd place with 75 points was Spain. So these scores are all over the place. In particular, Juror A there, I don't think gives an F about anybody else. They love ballads. More ballads for Juror number A, please. They had Latvia number 1, Germany 2, Israel 3, and France number 4. So just eating up all of those slower songs. But yeah, overall here you can see there's a pretty good spread. The 1s, 2s, and 3s all over the place. These are 5 individuals who have varying tastes. Okay, the 2nd healthiest jury with 76 points is Ireland. So 9 countries here getting medals from the 5 Irish jurors. Juror D is a little bit of a badass here, giving Nemo one of their lowest rankings in the entire year, 15th. Just kind of bucking the trend, giving Germany number 1, Serbia number 3, not liking Luxembourg and Croatia like everyone else. So yeah, a nice big healthy mix here. And finally, the healthiest jury with an absolutely whopping 102 points is Germany. So they won this by an absolute mile. This is absolute chaos and I love it. These jurors have nothing in common. They don't like each other. They don't talk to each other anymore. These are like 5 completely and utterly separate lists. And they actually had the lowest ranked number 1 out of all of the 37 juries. Ireland getting 1st place, but only coming 12th on that jury. They also had the lowest ranked number 2. UK coming 2nd with Juror A, but only being 13th. And they also had the lowest ranked number 3. Netherlands, you can't see it there because it's in red, but Juror E put them 3rd and they came 15th. Huge variety here. I love how super diverse and different this German jury is. This is what juries should look like in my opinion. I'm guessing they got people from different backgrounds, different ages, different musical inclinations. This looks really fun. Great to see so much variety. Okay, let's go to the other side and look at the 3 least diverse jury panels. And in 3rd place with only 35 points, we have Cyprus. If you look at those top 6 songs, each juror had 5 of them. So they shared 5 of the top things, all 5 of them. The chances of that happening statistically are zilch. This is a conversation going on there. And funnily enough, it's not even collaborating in the favor of Greece, which is an extra layer of surprise. Okay, the 2nd least healthy jury, in my opinion, is Slovenia with 33 points. And the question really needs to be asked, are Juror A and Juror D separate people? Or are they the same person who runs out to the toilet, puts on a mustache and a hat and comes back? Because their results are so similar. Their top 4, the exact same. Portugal 1st, France 2nd, Switzerland 3rd, and Armenia 4th. The chances of having all of your top 4 be the exact same in the exact same order is absolutely crazy. And it's not just them. All the other jurors are really similar as well. They pretty much all have the same top 3. Yeah, same thing. This is not 5 people working individually. This is 5 people who are discussing what they think and coming up with a consensus. And that brings us to the least healthy country. And this is not just the least healthy country from this year, it's also from last year. You cannot have a lower score than this. It is 30. All have the exact same top 3. It's Portugal with 30 points. This is completely and utterly absurd. They are 100% having a discussion with each other. What do we think are the top three? And then they're saying, okay, now put those top three in whatever order you want, because there is some variation. But yes, the exact same top three: Switzerland, Ireland, and Armenia. This is absolutely collaborative. They're talking to each other, they're influencing each other, they're coming to a consensus. This is not individual people coming up with their own opinions. So this is really, really, really bad. And this brings up a bigger question of how are juries run? And I think it varies wildly. You look at that German jury, I think that they're all separate. I think they're able to come up with their opinion. This Portugal jury is 100% in the same room. Now this is alleged, maybe they aren't, but like this is statistically like almost impossible statistically that they would, all five of them would have the same top three. It's like one in a very high number. Kings, you know, they've also got similar rankings for Lithuania, Ukraine, like almost the whole thing. They've pretty much all got the same top 10. It's just ridiculous. The whole point of the jury is it's meant to be representative of different people within the country. And I don't know what's happening. Maybe there's one person in here who's very bossy, or they're deciding that they want to do it collaboratively. I don't know. But this is not what the jury is meant to be, in my opinion. And I think results like this should be thrown out when it's so blatantly just beyond the realms of normal statistics. So I found this really disappointing. That score of 30 is the lowest possible. It could be worse. They could all have the same 1, 2, and 3. We did see something like that from Armenia in 2016, which caused a few headlines. I remember there being some coverage about that in the Eurovision fan media at the time, where everyone had the same number 1, number 2, and then 3 of the 5 of them had the same number 3. And it was just like kind of ridiculous. That almost, I don't know, is this worse than the Portugal one? I think Portugal's worse because it's happened kind of almost 8 years later, whereas maybe Armenia, it was before the jury scandal happened in 2022. So yeah, for me, the Portugal one is just really, really terrible. And I think that the EBU needs to set rules that you can't talk to other people or just have a little bit of privacy. Why are they talking to each other? This is meant to be 5 individual people. I think it opens the doors as well to corruption, that if you can influence one person on the jury who's particularly vocal, they're going to be able to sway everybody else. So you need to have 5 separate individuals. Put them in freaking separate rooms. You telling me you can't find 5 different rooms in your broadcaster? Like, put them in 5 different places. Give them some headphones. Get them to write their scores down privately. This is for me like borderline corruption. I wouldn't say it's full-on corruption, but it's just so easy to fix if the EBU set more strict rules about the format of the juries and how they're set up. It really pisses me off. You can tell I'm going on a little bit of a mini rant here, but I really don't like this. I want to see more juries like the German. Okay, so I've done this 2 years in a row now. Let's add up the scores and see who has the healthiest juries overall in the last 2 years. So in third place, we have Austria. Last year, their score was 83. This year, it was 58, giving them an average of 71. So they're in third place. Well done, Austria. In second place, we have Germany, who absolutely killed it this year with a score of 102. Last year, their score was 44, so big change up. And a number 1 spot, we have Denmark. You are not hallucinating. You are seeing Denmark in the number 1 spot of something related to Eurovision. That isn't a non-qualification streak. That is correct. Denmark with a score of 74 this year, 81 last year. They have the healthiest jury in the last 2 years. Love it, Denmark. If you can't qualify and you can't have a good national final, at least have a super healthy journal. We stand you for the health and diversity of your Eurovision juries. Okay, now let's check out the medals. So I'm going to show you where the hypothetical gold, silver, and bronze medals given out by all 185 jurors, where they went to. And since it was an Olympic year, let's celebrate this with Olympic style medal table. No surprise that up top is Nemo with 71 freaking gold medals. China would be so proud. That is 93.4% of the 180 jurors who were able to vote for Switzerland. Obviously, they can't vote for themselves. They also got the most silver medals as well, with 37 being total medal hogs. They didn't win the most bronze medals, so they let someone else have a little bit of the limelight. Nemo actually got a medal from every single jury in the contest. That is to say that every single jury had at least one juror who put Nemo in the top 3, apart from one country. Take a guess who it is. It is Croatia. Sad face. Now, is that a coincidence? No, I don't think it is. If you look at all the other juries, Switzerland got at least 5 jury points from every single other jury in the contest. And then you have Croatia, who put them 11th, giving them 0 points. That's way, way, way more than a coincidence. And we've seen this before. In 2017, Bulgaria and Portugal both hunting for their first Eurovision win. They both knew that each other were top of the bookies. And Bulgaria ended up giving 0 points to Portugal, one of only 2 countries who did that. And Portugal gave 0 points to Bulgaria, one of only 3 countries who did that. Portuguese jury not having a great video, I'll be honest. This is one of the downsides about having live odds, is that people know who their rivals are and that they've got a chance to win. Whether juries are being told to do this from their delegation, or they're just aware that they might accidentally give too many points to the rivals and be blamed for an own goal of sorts. Who knows what's running through different people's heads, but it does look like when first-time winners are getting close to that win, their juries start to get a little bit too self-aware. By the way, this doesn't always happen. In 2023, when we had that huge rivalry between Gaia and Loreen, Sweden and Finnish juries gave each other 12 points. So obviously they'd both won the contest before, but Sweden and Finland being epic, be like them. Okay, in second place was France with 22 golds and 21 silvers. I think that's pretty close to what they got in the Olympics this year as well. And Croatia were third, also with 22 golds, but they got less silvers. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that this was also the actual top 3 in jury in the contest. So there's a huge correlation between how many medals you got and the placings at the top of the table. Now, Ireland are in 4th here, bucking that trend. They got 11 golds, but they actually came 6th with the jury. I'm going to go into why that could be a little bit later. Ukraine with 10 golds in 5th place, also came 5th in the jury. Portugal and Italy tied with 7 golds, but Portugal had more silvers. Luxembourg returned to the contest with 5 gold medals in 8th place, and Latvia top 10 in terms of gold medals. 5 gold medals for them, 3 silvers and a bronze, but they actually only came 15th in the jury. So I think that's because some people are really loving it, but I think other people's putting it quite low. And although the medals have a lot of power, if you get ranked down the bottom a lot, you can get dragged down. Sweden, Armenia and Netherlands all with 4 gold medals. Unfortunately, Netherlands not getting those points. I am going to touch on Netherlands in a second, don't worry, because we can estimate how many points they would have gotten. Germany, Cyprus, Greece and Slovenia all getting 2 gold medals, but Germany had the most silver. So great to see Germany there in 13th place on the medal table and actually coming 10th in the jury. This did pretty solidly for them. Could this be Germany's new strategy in the contest? Just going for these very mainstream, solid songs that juries love. It got them on the left side of the table this year. Okay, and as you can see now here, the correlation between these medals and the actual ranking is starting to get a little bit crappier, because these countries are more getting 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, which aren't accounted for in this table. So that's why it's better for being correlated with the placings at the top of the table. Israel, Georgia, Spain, Austria and Norway all had 1 super fan who gave them a gold medal, and then no gold medals for the UK, Lithuania, Finland, Serbia and Estonia. So what I was talking about earlier, you need to be someone's favorite if you want those big jury points. I think with Finland and Estonia, possibly juries not wanting to put their name beside something that's so fun and eccentric. With UK, Lithuania and Serbia, I think just lacking a little bit more edge in the song, that would have maybe gotten someone to vote at number 1. But it is good to see that those 5 countries who got no golds did get some silvers, apart from Estonia, who only got a bronze. Don't tell ESC Gabe, he won't sleep tonight. But yeah, I like that everybody got at least 1 top 3 placing in a juror. Moving on, as many of you know, Joost Klein was disqualified from the Eurovision 2024 final, but he was still ranked by the jury during the jury final on Friday night. The jurors were shown his performance from semi-final number 2 in his intended running order slot. So we actually have the full jury results for Netherlands in the grand final. So shout out to Euro Bruno from Twitter, who combed through all of the results to find out how many points Joost would have gotten. We can see here 7 points from Austria, 1 from Belgium, a little bit less from Belgium than I was expecting actually. 8 points from Denmark, last place with Estonia. 10 points from Italy. I would not have expected the Italian jury to like this, but they did. 3 points from Latvia, 10 from Luxembourg. That's kind of what I was expecting from Belgium. 1 point from Malta, 1 point from Moldova, 1 from Poland, 8 from San Marino, 5 from Serbia, and 3 from Switzerland. So that's a total of 58 points from the jury. So if you slotted him into the jury rankings, he would be in 12th place, just above Israel and the United Kingdom. So just off the top 10 for Joost Klein, not doing so bad with the jury. But of course, those jury points were cancelled, and so his 58 points were distributed amongst everybody else. When he was disqualified, everyone below him in a jury where he got points moved up one space. So I went through all the juries who put Joost in their top 10 and added up which countries benefited most from him being removed from the jury rankings. And we can see the full list here. So the first column here is the actual jury points we had without Joost. The next column is the amount of points that that country would lose if Joost had been included. So Joost being disqualified, Ireland gained 7 points because of that, because Joost was ahead of Bambi Thug 7 times that he got points. Ukraine would have gained 6 points, Sweden would have gained 6 points, and Armenia would have gained 5. Everybody else got less than that, all the way down to 0. You'll see there Switzerland gained 0 points. Nemo was sitting so often at the top of the rankings that it didn't really matter what happened below. In this third column with Joost, you can see what the jury scores would have been had Joost not been disqualified. And there's not too much of a difference in ranking changes there. You can see Ireland and Portugal are now drawing for 6th place. Armenia and Germany are drawing for 9th. So Germany top 9 in the jury. Lithuania also moving up 1 place, Slovenia moving up 2, and Spain moving down 1. So not really any massive changes as you would expect. It was only 58 points. If you add up all the points in that points loss section, that adds up to 58. So that's where those 58 points were redistributed to. So no massive shakeup, but nice to see that Joost would have finished top 12 in the jury in the end, and obviously he would have gotten a gigantic televote score. So I think it's pretty safe to say that he would have been top 5. I think he probably would have come in 5th place, possibly creeping towards 4th place, catching up with France. In any case, Cloud this year I think is going to do really, really well with the juries in the grand final. So he will have a chance to avenge Joost's disqualification and get a very satisfying top 10 jury placing. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to check out who all 185 jurors ranked in their last place. So first of all, we can see Azerbaijan giving 4 last places to Armenia on the first row there. Azerbaijan and Armenia constantly trade last places. Maybe the EBU have just given up hope. Austria receiving 7 last places. For some reason, Czechia really not feeling it. 3 of the 5 jurors from Czechia put it last. Croatia getting 0 last places. No one hating Baby Lasagna at all. Cyprus getting 1 from Latvia. Estonia receiving 22. Quite a lot, and you can see there's a pretty big spread across the board as well. Yeah, we know that songs with a little bit more of a humor element that have a little bit more of a raw edge tend to not be appreciated as much by the jury. Surprisingly, Finland actually got less last places, only 15. Poland in particular, and Ireland really not liking this. I liked Windows 95 Man. Sorry, Finnish people. That Irish jury does not represent me. France receiving 2 last places, both from the UK. A little bit odd there, not sure what happened. Maybe it was because of his bum note. Georgia receiving 6 last places spread around. Germany 0, really showing how not too many people love this. It got a few gold medals, but also nobody hating it, nobody putting it last. This is what happens when you send a kind of safer, solid, radio-friendly song. Greece receiving 4 last places. Honestly, that's less than I expected. Ireland receiving 21. This is the 3rd largest amount of last places. 4 from Armenia, 4 from Georgia, 2 from Cyprus, 2 from Germany, 2 from Latvia, and 2 from Norway, which I think is a little bit more unexpected. I wonder, is there a slight religious influence here? Some people watching the contest complaining about this being satanic, ritualistic, etc. I wonder, could that have factored in? Be it 4 from Armenia and 4 from Georgia. On the flip side, Azerbaijan obviously giving all of their last places to Armenia, but they actually ranked Ireland 2nd, so a big disagreement here among the Caucasus. Georgia and Armenia absolutely hating Ireland, but Azerbaijan giving it 10 points. One of the Azeri juries put it 2nd last, just above Armenia, but the other 4 really love this, giving it 2nd, 3rd, and 7th. So yeah, very interesting different perspectives from a similar part of the world. Israel got 29 last place, pretty big spread there. The maximum last places that they got from a country was 3. I think what this shows is getting medals is more powerful than putting people last, because you can see Ireland got 21 last places and still managed to come 6th in the jury. So Israel only getting a few more but not doing as well. I just don't think their performance was as impactful as Bambi Thugs was. In case you're curious, if everything was averaged out, you would expect 7 last places per country. So anyone above or below 7 is bucking the average. Speaking of which, Italy also getting 0 last places. Latvia getting 7. Bit of a spread there. No one country picking on them. Lithuania getting 3. Having a more steady song is you're less likely to really offend people. Luxembourg, 0 last places again. Netherlands getting 10. You might expect Netherlands to get a few more, but no. 2 of them coming from Estonia and 2 from Australia. Norway getting 9 last places. 3 of those coming from Israel. Portugal getting 2 last places. Serbia with 6. All spread out. Slovenia with 10, also spread out as well. Spain getting 15 last places. So that's 3 coming from Slovenia. And if you look at Slovenia's column, their other 2 went to the UK. So Slovenian jury not into homoeroticism whatsoever. They were also mentioned early on in the video for being the 2nd least healthy jury. So the Slovenian jury seemed to be collaborating on everything. Sweden getting 1 last place from Albania. Switzerland with 0. I'm not sure officially what Nemo's lowest ranking was from a juror. I think it might have been around 15th or so. If you know, leave a comment down below. Ukraine getting 2 last places from San Marino and Serbia. And finally, UK with 8 last places. I think this is what we saw with some of the televote as well, is that maybe just a little bit too on the nose for some people. 3 last places from Croatia, 2 last places from Slovenia. Some people from Southeast Europe not liking the staging from Ali. Okay, back to the present day. I didn't actually film an outro for that video. I think I was putting it off until I was done. Apologies that this video was so late. I had some problems while I was editing the graphics, and it just kind of turned into this big demon thing on my back, and I think I just kind of pushed it away because it was so intimidating. But I still think there are some really interesting takeaways from this. You know, what the points I was making about the jury, keep in mind that I filmed this video in November, I think are super pertinent to this year. Are we going to have another jury winner this year with Luan singing Maman for France, or maybe Claude for the Netherlands? Or are we going to have a televote winner for the first time since 2022? I definitely think that the producers would prefer if a televote winner won. Doesn't necessarily have to be Kai from Sweden, but whoever wins the televote, because I don't think it's healthy for the contest in many people's eyes if we keep just having all these jury winners win. Another thing I need to shout out is that pun on Denmark and hallucination was a total another coincidence. Again, I filmed that video in November. I can show you it on my phone if you don't believe me. I am not a witch. Do not burn me at the stake. Maybe this was a message from the Eurovision gods that the Danish song was going to be called Hallucination this year. In any case, if you enjoyed this video, please do leave me a comment and a thumbs up. This video took so long. You could just imagine the amount of graphics that I had to do, writing this episode, researching it, making all those graphics, filming it, and then having to deal with my not so perfect video editing software, which I'm hopefully going to be upgrading pretty soon. It took absolutely tons of work, but I'm really, really happy with the results. I hope that you enjoyed the video too. And if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe down below. Okay, thank you to everyone who's been supporting me recently on PayPal and Buy Me a Coffee. If you want to support the channel, I'll leave a QR code for you here and a link in the description. And of course, thank you to all my wonderful patrons who have been so patiently waiting for this video. And I need to give a shout out to a couple of them who have been gently nagging me. I did ask them to nag me. Thank you very much. I won't name names, but you know who you are. On my Patreon, you can find loads of fun Eurovision stuff. Go check it out if you're a fan. But of course, thank you so much just for being here, and I hope to see you in another grand final analysis video, but hopefully sooner next year. Very, very, very soon. Goodbye.